For just 1,000, a night with her. My husband laughed at a corporate party, selling me like a commodity, while everyone laughed and made bets. But when the stranger made a bet of 10 million, the husband fell to his knees and begged not to leave him. Oleg knocked over a glass of red wine, and a thick burgundy stain slowly crawled across the snow-white tablecloth. Approaching Elena's elbow, she instinctively moved away, but only remained silent. She squeezed the stem of her wine glass filled with mineral water until her knuckles turned white. The New Year's corporate party was noisy all around, music was blaring. But for Elena this evening has already turned into torture. Why are you so sour, Lenka? Oleg, flushed with the collar of his expensive shirt open, leaned towards her, dousing her with the smell of cognac and heavy perfume. Have fun. I'm crying, more precisely, the office pays. But I'm not the last person here. Head of the sales department. It's not your job to shift papers like you do in your analytics. Elena exhaled slowly, looking her husband straight in the eyes. She was 32 years old. She was a leading financial analyst in a large holding company, and it was her papers that allowed them to live at the level that Oleg so quickly got used to. But here, among his colleagues, she was simply Oleg's wife, a free addition to his inflated ego. Oleg, is that enough for you? She said quietly but firmly. You start talking. Let's call a taxi. Taxi. He laughed loudly, attracting the attention of his table mates. Guys, did you hear? My wife wants to go home to our luxurious apartment, which, by the way, I have decorated to the highest standard. The table buzzed with approval. A young secretary from the HR department sitting opposite batted her eyelashes. Oleg Petrovich, you are so caring. Your wife is so lucky. A real man is building a career and providing for his family. Elena felt a bitter lump rising in her throat. Our apartment. She bought this 3-ruble in the center 3 years before she met Oleg. She paid off the mortgage while denying herself vacations and new things. She chose the tiles herself, fought with the foreman herself, and paid for every meter of Italian wallpaper herself. Oleg came to this house with one suitcase, which contained 3 suits, a game console and credit card debt. Well, for 2 years of marriage. He rewrote the history of their lives so masterfully that now, it seems, he himself believed that the walls, floor and ceiling were bought with his bonuses. Yes, Oleg continued loudly, pouring himself more cognac, ignoring Elena's warning gesture. A woman needs to be pampered, but she also needs to be kept in check. Here's my Lenka. She will be lost without me. Who else will give her such a standard of living? You could say I pulled her out of poverty. Yes, Linus. Elena was silent. Arguing with her drunken husband in front of his subordinates was beneath her dignity. She just sat there, straight as a string, in her strict dark blue dress, which cost more than that secretary's entire wardrobe. She felt eyes on her. Some looked with envy, others with pity. But Oleg did not let up. Alcohol was boiling in his blood, demanding release, demanding recognition, demanding a show. He suddenly jumped up, almost knocking him over in his chair. Let's have a drink. He yelled into the microphone, snatching it from the presenter as he ran past. The music died down. Hundreds of eyes rushed to the stage, where the head of the sales department stood swaying. For us, for the winners, and for our women, who must know their place. An awkward silence hung in the hall, diluted by the liquid claps of the sycophants. Elena wanted to disappear. She took her purse, preparing to leave quietly, but Oleg noticed her movement. Hey, where? His voice, amplified by the speakers, hit my ears. Wife, he come here. Go to your husband. He jumped off the low stage and staggered towards her. People moved away. Oleg grabbed Elena by the hand, and, with a force that she did not expect from him, dragged her to the center of the hall, under the spotlight. Let it hurt me, she hissed, trying to escape without throwing a tantrum. "Don't twitch," he growled in her ear, and then, raising the microphone to his lips again, he broke into a wide, drunken smile. "Friends, colleagues, look how cool, proud, unapproachable. She thinks she's a queen." He waved his hand around her like a lot at a livestock fair. Elena froze. Icy calm shackled her body. It was a defensive reaction. She looked not at her husband, but somewhere through him into the dark depths of the hall. "And you know what?" Oleg suddenly giggled. The sound was disgusting. "They say everything has a price. We are salespeople. We will sell snow in winter. How much does such inaccessibility cost?" The hall froze. Someone chuckled nervously. "Let's have an auction." Oleg entered into a rush. It seemed to him that he was incredibly witty, that he was the life of the party. "Lot number 1, my precious wife. For only 1,000 rubles, a night with her. Whoever gives more, she's still worth nothing, believe me. In bed, she's a log, but she cooks borscht well. And for those who are brave, 1,000 rubles." Elena stopped breathing. Time stopped. She heard every word, and every word was like a blow from a whip, but it was not the physical pain that was terrible, but the monstrous humiliation. The man with whom she shared a bed, with whom she planned a future, with whom she thought she loved. "Friends, colleagues, look how cool, proud, unapproachable. She thinks she's a queen." He waved his hand around her like a lot at a livestock fair. Elena froze. Icy calm shackled her body. It was a defensive reaction. She looked not at her husband, but somewhere through him into the dark depths of the hall. "And you know what?" Oleg suddenly giggled. The sound was disgusting. "They say everything has a price. We are salespeople. We will sell snow in winter. How much does such inaccessibility cost?" The hall froze. Someone chuckled nervously. "Let's have an auction." Oleg entered into a rush. It seemed to him that he was incredibly witty, that he was the life of the party. "Lot number 1, my precious wife. For only 1,000 rubles, a night with her. Whoever gives more, she's still worth nothing, believe me. In bed, she's a log, but she cooks borscht well. And for those who are brave, 1,000 rubles." Elena stopped breathing. Time stopped. She heard every word, and every word was like a blow from a whip, but it was not the physical pain that was terrible, but the monstrous humiliation. The man with whom she shared a bed, with whom she planned a future, with whom she thought she loved. Now he was destroying it in front of hundreds of people. 500 rubles. Someone shouted from the back rows. Some young intern, who decided that this was a fun game. Oleg laughed 500 times. "Who is bigger? Don't be shy. She's quiet." He tried to put his arm around her waist and pull her towards him, showing off the goods. His hand slid over her thigh. Elena stood motionless, like a statue. She didn't cry. Tears would be a gift to him. Her usually warm brown eyes now held an arctic coldness. She saw how some men looked away, women were ashamed, but no one intervened. Everyone was afraid of ruining the evening, afraid of the scandalous boss. "Come on," Oleg fucked her. "Smile, fool, we are having fun. At that moment, the massive doors of the banquet hall swung open. 2 guards in black suits appeared in the doorway, followed by a man. He was about 45. Tall, fit, wearing a dark grey suit that fit him like a glove. His face was tough, strong-willed, with sharp features. The music finally stopped. Even the waiters froze with their trays. It was Viktor Andreevich, the new owner of the investor company, whose name has been whispered in the corridors for the last 2 weeks. There were legends about him: tough, uncompromising. A man who does not forgive mistakes and does not hate lies. Oleg knew about its existence. I knew that he was supposed to come for a check after the holidays, but I never saw him in person. Victor stopped at the entrance. He looked around the hall with a heavy gaze and instantly focused on the center of the dance floor, where a drunken Oleg was still holding his wife by the elbow, Victor slowly walked forward. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. All that could be heard was the sound of his expensive shoes on the parquet floor. Oleg saw the approaching man and smiled stupidly. He didn't recognize him. He saw just another spectator. "Oh, a respectable man," Oleg shouted into the microphone. "Want to participate? The bet is $1,000. You take it." Victor came close. He exuded such power and authority that those standing nearby took their breath away. He looked at Oleg, then turned his gaze to Elena. He saw her pale face, her straight back, her hands clenched into fists so that her nails dug into her palms. He saw in her eyes not fear, but an abyss of despair, an incredible willpower. "I'll leave 10 million," Victor said loudly and clearly. His voice, low and calm, sounded like thunder in the silence of the hall. Oleg hiccuped. The smile faded from his face. "HS how much?" he asked again, deciding that you heard wrong. 10 million rubles, Victor repeated. He didn't look at Oleg, he looked only at Elena. But on one condition. Like which one? Oleg began to sober up. The amount was huge. Numbers began to swirl in his foggy brain. 10 million. It's a new car. It's provided that it goes with me now and forever. There was a deafening silence in the hall, such that you could hear the air conditioner working. Oleg looked from Victor to his security, and then to his department. He suddenly noticed how pale the general director, standing at the buffet table, turned. Pale, the director made signs to Oleg with his eyes and grabbed his head, and then, yes, it dawned on Oleg. Costume, security, authoritative tone. It was him, master. Oleg's legs became weak. The hop instantly evaporated, replaced by sticky animal horror. "Viktor Andreevich," he stammered, lowering the microphone. It's a joke. Corporate humor. We just. Victor finally turned to Oleg. There was so much contempt in his gaze that Oleg involuntarily backed away and released Elena's hand. "Humor?" Victor asked in an icy tone. "You valued your wife at 1,000 rubles. Publicly humiliated a woman who, judging by the documents I have been studying for the last week, is the only bright spot in your pathetic biography." Victor took a step towards Oleg and he retreated even further, tripping over the equipment cord. "I valued her talent as a financier at 10 million contract," Victor continued, emphasizing every word. "I read Elena Vladimirovna's analytical reports. This is brilliant work. The only reason why your department has not yet gone bankrupt is because of her forecasts, which you, an entity, used and passed off as your own." A whisper ran through the crowd. Elena slowly raised her eyes to Victor. For the first time that evening, she felt like she could breathe. "You are fired," you threw the Victor. As if you had spat out something dirty. "For idealism, for moral decay, for reputational risks for my company. I will not tolerate people working in my business who are capable of selling their loved ones for a cheap laugh." Oleg opened his mouth, trying to say something, but Victor interrupted him by raising his voice, and, by the way, the audit revealed shortfalls in the bonus fund. You stole bonuses from your own employees to show off. My lawyers have already filed a lawsuit. You are not just fired, you will go to court. You will return every penny. Oleg turned so pale that he looked like a canvas. His world was falling apart. One moment he was the king of the party, and now he has turned into a criminal and an outcast. He looked hauntedly at his colleagues. Those who 5 minutes ago had laughed at his jokes now looked at him with disgust. The secretary, who had praised his care, turned away in disgust. Elena took a deep breath. She felt the trembling release from her body, giving way to cold determination. She looked at her right hand. A gold ring glittered on her ring finger, thin, elegant. Once she herself added money to buy it, because Oleg didn't have enough. She slowly pulled the ring off her finger. Oleg looked at this. Unable to move, Elena approached the table, where Oleg's unfinished glass of cognac stood, clanking, and the glass and ring fell to the bottom, raising a cloudy sediment. "Sold," Elena said loudly. Her voice was even, without a single tear. She turned to Victor. "I accept your proposals to discuss Viktor Andreevich's contract. But I need to pick up my coat. I'll see you off." Victor nodded. They turned around and walked towards the exit. "Lena!" A pitiful scream was heard from behind. Oleg, realizing what was happening, rushed after them. He fell to his knees, trying to grab Elena by the hem of her dress. "Helen, Bunny. I'm sorry. I was drunk. I'm a fool. Don't leave me. You know I can't live without you. I have nothing, apartment. We are family." Elena stopped. She didn't turn around. She simply tugged at the dress, freeing the fabric from his sweaty hands. "You have nothing, Oleg," she said, looking ahead. "You are right. My apartment. The car is on loan in your name. What about family?" "The family ended exactly at the moment when you valued me at 1,000 rubles. But I have nowhere to go." He howled, smearing snot all over his face. "Winter, night." Victor made a sign to the guards. Two strong guys stepped towards Oleg and gently but persistently pushed him away from the woman. "It's not her problem," Victor said. "And not mine." They left the stuffy hall into the cool hall, leaving behind a humiliated, crushed man who had destroyed his own life. In one evening, soft snow was falling outside. It was quiet and fresh. Elena breathed in the frosty air deeply. She felt strangely calm next to Victor. There was no flirting, no hints. There was a feeling of a reliable shoulder. Elena Vladimirovna said to Victor when they approached his black car. "The driver has already opened the door. I wasn't kidding about the contract. I need a financial director for the head office. I have been watching your work for a long time. Today's incident simply hastened the decision. 10 million is your annual salary plus allowances." Elena looked at him. In the light of the lanterns, his face seemed tired, but kind. "Thank you, Viktor Andreevich. I'm ready to consider the offer. But now I need to go home. I have a lot to do. I'll take you. He simply said. Do you mind?" "No, I don't mind." Quiet classical music was playing in the car. They rode in silence. Elena didn't need to explain anything. And she was grateful to Victor for this silence. He didn't pry into your soul, didn't ask questions. How could you live with him? He just gave her the opportunity to save face. When the car stopped at her entrance, Elena turned to him. "You saved me today. No. From him, from myself, from the habit of tolerating. Thank you. Talented people should not endure, Elena. They should shine. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow morning regarding the divorce and employment contract. If you have problems with your ex-husband, call me personally at any time." He handed her a business card, a plain white one with one phone number. Elena went up to the apartment. Silence greeted her like an old friend. Oleg's shoes were lying in the hallway. His jacket was hanging on a hanger. This mess used to irritate her. Now it seemed like just trash that needed to be taken out. She didn't cry. The time for tears is over. She took out her phone and dialed the number for a 24-hour lock-picking and replacement service. "Yes. Urgently. I'm the owner. Documents in hand. I am waiting." While the master was driving, Elena acted like a robot, clear, fast, and effective. She pulled out large black trash bags and cardboard boxes left over from buying the TV. She went into the bedroom closet. His suits went straight into boxes with hangers. Shirts, jeans, socks, everything was piled up indiscriminately. His game console, joysticks, wires in a package. The expensive watch she gave him for his anniversary is also there. She felt neither pity nor anger, only disgust. It was as if she was cleaning out the apartment from cockroaches. After 40 minutes the master arrived. While he was drilling out the old key of the lock, Elena was taking boxes and bags out onto the landing to the garbage chute. She lined them up in a neat row. All his property was there. Everything he came with and everything he gained at her expense. When the housewife was ready, the master handed her a new set of keys. No one can open a secure lock. Thank you. Elena paid generously. When the door closed and the new lock clicked, she leaned her back against the cold metal and slowly slid to the floor. Just now it covered her. But these were not tears of grief. These were tears of relief. She was free. Oleg was sitting on the sidewalk of the restaurant entrance. Security threw him out into the street 10 minutes after Elena Victor left. They didn't even let him take his coat from the wardrobe. They threw his jacket in his face and slammed the door. He was shaking from cold and horror. The intoxication passed completely, leaving behind a monstrous headache and an understanding of complete disaster. Lena, he whispered into the void. He patted his pockets. Telephone. I need to call her. She will forgive. She always forgave. She's kind. She loves him. Well. I got excited. Well, I made a bad joke. Who doesn't it happen to? He dialed his wife's number. The subscriber is temporarily unavailable, or is out of network coverage. She blocked him. Oleg felt panic squeezing his throat with icy fingers. Where to go? There is almost no money on the card. He spent everything on preparing for the holiday, counting on an annual bonus, which now will not happen. And there will be a lawsuit. And the court. Dimon. He remembered about his deputy. Dimon was at a corporate party. They are friends. Dimon always agreed with him, laughing at his jokes. Oleg found a contact. The beeps went on for a long time. Hello. Dmitri's voice was old-fashioned. Dimon, brother. Help me out. Oleg yelled. I was set up here. I had a fight with my wife. This new gal fired. Listen, they'll jump up to you now and contact you in a couple of days. Sorry. Oleg. Dmitri's voice became dry and alien. It won't work. My mother-in-law has arrived. There is no room. Come on. I'll lie down in the kitchen. We are friends. Oleg. Don't you understand? Dmitri said harshly. The owner himself fired you, with a wolf ticket. You will be on trial for embezzlement. I don't need problems. Don't call me anymore. And, by the way, I have already been offered the position of head of the department, by Horns. Oleg, you were already looking at the screen. Traitor. They are all traitors. He started going through his contacts. Kolyan dropped the call. Seryoga. The subscriber is busy. Sveta from the accounting department. Didn't pick up the phone. Nobody wanted to deal with a leper. Everyone saw how Victor destroyed him with one phrase: friendship, respect, status. All this was dust that disappeared along with the position. All that was left was the apartment, his house. Well, let Lena be an evil one. He will come. It will fall at your feet. He will sleep under the door until she opens it. She won't be able to kick him out into the cold. Oleg called an economy taxi, spending the last penny from his linked card. He rehearsed his speech all the way. He will press for pity, the fact that they have been through so much together. The taxi stopped at a familiar entrance. Lights were burning in the windows of their apartment on the 5th floor. That means she's home. Oleg took off up the stairs without waiting for the elevator. This is the original door. Now he will come in and this nightmare will end. He put the key into the keyhole. The key only went in halfway and stuck. Oleg pressed harder. No way. What the hell? He muttered. He pulled out the key, looked at it, then tried to insert it again. Doesn't fit. He looked at the castle. It was new, shiny chrome. A different well shape. Oleg broke out in a cold sweat. She changed the locks. In a couple of hours, Lena began pounding on the door with his fist. Lena. Open up. It's me, Lena. Don't be stupid. I have nowhere to go. There was silence outside the door. Not a rustle, not a sound of footsteps. Oleg kicked the door, shouted, begged, and threatened. I'll call the police. I'm registered. No, I'm not registered, but I'm a husband. Lena, the next door, was hidden. A gloomy neighbor, Uncle Pasha, a retired military man, looked out. Why are you yelling? Drunk? He barked. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, Uncle Pash tell her. Oleg begged. My wife won't let me home, and he's doing the right thing. The neighbor snapped. Lenka is a golden woman, and you are a blabbermouth and a chunyad. The whole house knows that you yell at her all the time. Get out of here before I call you out. The neighbor's door slammed. Oleg slid down the wall, and then his gaze fell on the garbage chute platform. There were boxes there, familiar boxes and black bags. He crawled over to them, tore open the nearest bag. His suits crumpled and tangled, his shoes in a heap, his toothbrush sticking out of his jacket pocket. She exposed him like trash. Oleg sat down directly on the dirty floor of the entrance, hugging the box with his belongings. There was a long winter night ahead. He had no job, no money, no home. He has a huge debt that he will never be able to pay off. He sat on the concrete floor, pressing his back against the cold wall, and tried to comprehend what had happened. Alcohol was still buzzing in my head, mixing with panic. It seemed to him that this was some kind of bad dream. Now the door will open, Lena will come out in her soft robe, look at him reproachfully. But let him in. He will pour you some tea and give you aspirin. She always did this. But the door remained blank and impenetrable, like a Swiss bank. Safe? Half an hour later, Uncle Pasha looked out again. This time he had a smartphone in his hands. I called the police. He muttered, you have 5 minutes to clean up. It was also not enough for homeless people to spend the night in the entrance. I'm not homeless. Oleg squealed, trying to get up, but his legs went numb. I lived here for 2 years. He lived and died. Get out, I say. Oleg realized that it was useless to argue. He frantically began to collect his things. The boxes were heavy and uncomfortable. 1 bag tore and spilled socks and chargers. Oleg crawled on his knees, collecting them, feeling his ears burn with shame. He had to call a cargo taxi, but the application showed insufficient funds. According to the latter, the money was spent on a regular taxi home. He froze. What to do? The gaze fell on the box with the watch, the same one given by Lena. Nice Swiss watch. The pawn shop flashed a saving thought. 24-hour pawn shop near the metro. Like a pack donkey, he dragged the boxes to the elevator. They fell and crumbled. He cursed, kicked them and collected them again. Stumbling out of the entrance into the cold, he almost cried. The wind threw a handful of prickly snow in his face. It was about 15 minutes to the metro, at least, with boxes, all 40. He walked through the city at night in an expensive, but unbuttoned coat without a hat, dragging behind him the belongings of his ruined life. Rare passers-by shied away from him. In the pawn shop, the sleepy clerk behind the glass fiddled with the watch for a long time and examined it through a magnifying glass, without documents and a box. Just like a crowbar, he said evenly. $50,000. Are you crazy? Oleg was indignant. They cost $200. New. Well, go and sell new ones. The receiver yawned. Do take it or not? Oleg shook his fists. He needed money, right now, for a hotel, for food, for a taxi. Let's. He exhaled. Having received the cash, he felt temporary relief. $50,000. This will be enough for the first time. Tomorrow he'll think of something. He will call and explain to Victor that this is a misunderstanding. Well, a person can't be so cruel because of one joke. He checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts, because decent hotels required a credit card for a deposit, and his cards were empty. The room smelled of tobacco and cheap chemicals. Oleg collapsed on the bed, without even undressing, and instantly fell into a heavy nightmare. The morning for Elena began not with an alarm clock, but with a ray of sunshine falling on the pillow. She opened her eyes and lay motionless for several seconds, listening to the sensations. Usually the morning began with anxiety. Didn't Oleg oversleep? Iron his shirt. What should I cook for breakfast so he doesn't grumble that he forgot his keys again? Today there was silence. Elena sat up in bed, her body feeling incredibly light. She got up and walked into the kitchen. There were no dirty cups on the steel, which Oleg liked to leave in the evening. The sink was empty. She made herself coffee, strong, aromatic, without sugar, just as she liked. Having taken the first sip, she went to the window. The city below lived its own life. Cars hurried along the avenue, people ran to work. At that moment the phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Hello, Elena Vladimirovna. Female voice, clear and professional. This is Anna, Viktor Andreevich's personal assistant. Good morning, Anna. Viktor Andreevich asked me to tell you that he is waiting for you in the office at 11. The car will come for you at 10-30. Our head of the legal department will also contact you to discuss the details of your transition and personal issues. Thank you, Anna. I'll be ready. Elena hung up. At 10:30 there was that same black sedan standing at the entrance. The driver got out and opened the door for her. Neighbor Uncle Pasha, who was walking his dog, saw this and nodded respectfully to Elena. Good morning, Lenotka. How did you sleep without noise? Great, Uncle Pasha. Thank you. In Viktor's office, which occupied the top floor of a skyscraper in the city, there was an atmosphere of concentrated efficiency. There was no fuss here. No one was running around with papers. Decisions worth billions were made here. Viktor met her in his office. He was wearing a fresh shirt, no jacket, with his sleeves rolled up. He offered coffee instead of greeting, pointing to the chair. I won't refuse. They sat down at a small table near the panoramic window. I have prepared the documents. Viktor pushed the folder towards her. Employment contract, position, group financial director of the company, salary, as agreed, plus a percentage of cost optimization, full authority. Submit only to me. Elena opened the folder. The numbers were impressive, but she was more struck by the point about complete autonomy in making personnel decisions in the financial sector. Do you trust me with such control levers? She asked. We've known each other for less than a day. I've known your work for 3 years, Elena. I've read your reports. I saw you predict a liquidity crisis half a year ago. But your past leadership ignored this. I'm not hiring a woman who was hurt by her husband. I'm hiring a brain that will save my money. Elena smiled. For the first time in a long time, this smile was sincere and open. I won't let you down. I know. Now the second one. Lawyers. A short, stocky man with glasses entered the office. Boris Efimovich. Viktor introduced him, the best divorce lawyer in town and the best debt collection specialist. He will take care of your husband. Elena corrected her ex-husband. Exactly, Boris. Bring Elena up to date. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. The situation is as follows, Elena Vladimirovna. Oleg Petrovich has a corporate debt of 3 million rubles. This is a direct shortage, plus the fine for reputational damage, which we are currently filing, is about 5 more, plus the car loan he took out. But the company was the guarantor. The bank will now demand full repayment since he has been fired, and besides, his debt load is approaching 12 million. Elena whistled. He said he had everything under control. Why are the bonuses big? He stole bonuses. Viktor said dryly. He wrote out bonuses for dead souls and cashed them out. This is a criminal article. Fraud. We filed a complaint with the prosecutor's office this morning. What about divorce? Elena asked. They will divorce you quickly. there are no children, and there are no material disputes on your part. Premarital apartment. But he will try to claim half of the mortgage payments made during the marriage. But, the lawyer smiled predatorily, considering that he did not actually contribute money to the family budget, but spent it on gambling and expensive trinkets. We will prove that he was dependent. We have statements for all his cards. Gambling. Elena raised her eyebrows in surprise. Online casino sports betting. He lost $120,000 a month. You didn't know? Elena shook her head. She felt blind. How could she live with a person and not see this? She is a financial analyst who did not notice the hole in her own family budget. Although he always hid his phone, he had passwords everywhere. He said, "This is my money. I earned it." She did not interfere, feeling this as a sign of trust. Trust, the most valuable currency in the world, and the most devalued. Do what you need to do, Elena said firmly. I don't want anything from him, but I won't give a penny of mine either. Oleg woke up to someone banging on the door of his room. Checkout time will be extended. He could hardly open his eyes. His head was pounding. He looked at his watch. 12 days. Now, he packed his things, went downstairs, and extended the room for another day. There was less and less money left. We need to go to the office. He decided. We need to talk to Victor, face to face, like a man. Explain that I will return the money, that I will work off. He cleaned himself up as much as he could in a cheap motel. The shirt was wrinkled, but the suit still looked expensive. He caught a taxi and went to the office. The turnstiles at the entrance, his pass did not work. The red light came on and the same guard who always shook his hand came out of the booth. Oleg Petrovich. The pass is blocked. Vasya. What are you doing? It's me. I need to see Victor Andreevich. They weren't ordered to let me in. Security order. Yes. Do you know who I am? Oleg began to wind up as usual. I am the head of the sales department. I'll fire you. You won't fire anyone. Citizen. The voice of the security chief came from behind Oleg. You don't work here anymore. Your personal items are collected in a box. You can pick it up at the reception. You are prohibited from entering the building. Oleg turned around. There were employees standing in the hall, former colleagues. They were going to lunch. They laughed and chatted. When they saw him, they fell silent, averted their eyes, and quickened their pace. Nobody came. Nobody shook hands. He became invisible. An empty place. I need to talk to management. Oleg shouted, losing his composure. This is a mistake. I demand a meeting. The head of security nodded silently to his guys. Two big guys took Oleg by the arms and carefully, but firmly led him out into the snowy mess. If you show up again, we'll call the police for disturbing public order, the boss said, and threw a small cardboard box with stationery and a couple of photographs at his feet. Oleg stood in the wind looking at the glass facade of the building, where just yesterday he felt like a god. Now he was nobody. He tried calling competitors' companies. He had a good resume and experience. Olo, company, investment group. This is Oleg Smirnov. And that same Smirnov. There was unconcealed irony in the voice of the HR manager, who was selling his wife at an auction. Oleg went cold. Where are you from? Oleg Petrovich. Russian market. Videos from the corporate event are already in all work chats. Victor Andreevich personally warned all major players about your unscrupulousness with finances. You have a wolf ticket. We do not hire thieves and clowns. All the best. Horns. He called 5 more places. Everywhere the same answer. Either a polite refusal, or outright laughter. The fame of his feat spread instantly. That evening he received a call from the bank. Oleg Petrovich, you are in arrears on your car loan. The contract was terminated due to loss of security and loss of work. You are obliged to return the car to the bank within 3 days. or repay the entire amount of the debt, 4 million rubles. Oleg sat on the motel bed and looked at the wall. The car will be taken away. There is no apartment. There is no work. No money. He remembered Lena, quiet, calm Lena, who always solved problems, who connected debits with credits, who knew where the documents were, how to pay for insurance. He always thought that she was boring, that she's a brake on his bright life. It turned out that she was the engine, and he was just a beautiful hood, under which there was now emptiness. Elena was sitting in her new, spacious office, with a panorama of Moscow spread out outside the window. In 2 months, her work at Viktor Andreevich's holding company has changed. She introduced a new budgeting system, identified underperforming assets and proposed bold solutions for debt restructuring. Some decisions were painful but necessary. Her work days were long, but she felt truly alive. Every project, every report, every meeting brought satisfaction. She was in the right place. Viktor Andreevich turned out to be exactly the kind of leader she dreamed of, demanding, but insightful, trusting, but always ready to give practical advice. He did not interfere with her work, but was always in the know. They developed a rare professional rapport based on respect for each other's intelligence and hard work. Changes also came in my personal life. The divorce was formalized quietly without unnecessary noise, as Boris Efimovich promised. Elena Krylova, as she now called herself, felt that she was throwing off invisible shackles. She started going to the pool, which she had long dreamed of, and resumed her French lessons, which she had given up because of Oleg, who did not like unnecessary spending and empty hobbies. Sometimes, late at night, when the city fell asleep, she would wake up from old habits. I checked my phone, waited for a call, was afraid of reproaches, but then I remembered that all this was in the past, and then there was silence, calm, healing silence. Viktor still behaved with restraint towards her, but sometimes Elena caught his glances at her. There was no pressure in them, but there was deep interest. Once he invited her to an exhibition of contemporary art, knowing that she was interested in painting. They spent several hours discussing his work, and Elena was amazed at how deeply he understood art and how multifaceted his personality was. Viktor, you are not at all the way they portray you in business circles, she said. Then, and you, Elena, are not at all the way you were presented in the reports, and not the way your ex-husband tried to make you out to be. Much deeper, stronger and more interesting, he answered, and sparkles twinkled in his eyes. These moments were like a breath of fresh air for Elena. For the first time she felt that she was seen, heard, valued, not only for her professionalism, but also for who she is as a person. Oleg sank to the very bottom. The car was taken by the bailiffs. The watch and phone were sold long ago. The proceeds were gone in a matter of days. He was kicked out of the motel for non-payment. He tried to live with casual acquaintances, but his difficult character, constant whining and endless accusations against Elena and Viktor quickly became boring to everyone. People who yesterday were ready to laugh at his jokes now avoided him. They stopped opening doors for him and stopped answering calls. Even a lower-level manager wouldn't hire someone with a bad ticket to a decent place. Every manager, hearing the name Smirnov, or simply Googling Oleg Smirnov, the head of the sales business, immediately changed his face. A video from a corporate party, in which he tried to sell his wife, went viral in narrow business circles. Gossip about his financial frauds spread faster than the wind. He had to go to work where they didn't ask questions, and didn't require a resume. At a construction site, as a laborer, carrying bags of cement, mixing mortar, removing construction waste. 12 hours a day, under the scorching sun or in the piercing wind. His dear hands, accustomed to the keyboard, shiny glasses, whiskey and handshakes, partners, were covered with calluses, abrasions and eternal construction dust. My back hurt unbearably, my legs ached at night. He lost weight. His face became haggard, his eyes became cloudy. They paid pennies, and almost half was immediately written off by the bailiffs to pay off a huge debt. The remaining 2 were enough for a bed in a hostel for guest workers and instant food, cheap noodles and bread. The dormitory, where 10 people slept in a room, had its own rules. Every evening Oleg hid the leftover food under his pillow, fearing that it would be stolen. He, who once boasted of his connections, was now afraid of his own cellmates. He didn't hate the whole world. He hated Victor, who, it seemed to him, had taken everything from him. I hated my former colleagues for their betrayal, but most of all he hated Lena. And his thoughts. He blamed her for everything. If she had played along then, if she had smiled, none of this would have happened. He told himself hundreds of times. He was sure that she had betrayed him and ruined his life. One evening, after drinking cheap vodka with his roommate, Oleg suddenly felt a surge of rage and determination. He decided that he had to take revenge, or at least look into her eyes and express everything. He wanted her to see what she had brought him to. He knew where she worked. He knew her route. He knew that she would be delayed until the end. The next morning, with a hangover, dirty, unshaven, in an old worn-out jacket, bought in a second for 200 rubles, he drove to a skyscraper in the city. He spent his last money on the subway to get there. He stood at the exit, hiding behind a column, trying to blend in with the crowd, but his shabby appearance screamed about his position. The cold wind penetrated him to the bones, but he did not feel it, just a burning mixture of anger and despair. It was about 7 in the evening. Streams of people emerged from the swirling glass doors, boarded taxis, or hurried to the subway. Oleg carefully looked at each face. Each has a silhouette. He waited. Finally she came out. Oleg froze. He almost didn't recognize her. This was not the tortured grey mouse he knew. That Elena, who was always worried about his mood, who averted her eyes from his contemptuous glances, who constantly tried to be good enough. Elena was dressed in an elegant scent-colored coat, on her feet, stylish, expensive boots with high heels. Hair used to be pulled back into a strict bun. Now they were freely scattered over the shoulders in a shiny wave. New haircut, expensive styling. On her neck, an elegant necklace shimmered like a thin thread, which Oleg immediately recognized. It was an antique that she had dreamed of buying many years ago. But then he said it was a waste. She walked confidently, with her head held high. Her every movement felt inner strength and dignity. She was glowing. She gave off an aura of calm and confidence that Oleg had never seen before. Victor walked next to her. He was telling her something and Elena laughed. It was so sincerely loud that Oleg involuntarily shuddered. Oleg had never heard her laugh so much with him. Her laughter with him was always subdued, more of a polite reaction than a sign of true joy. Victor opened the door of his black car for her. But before sitting down, Elena suddenly stopped. She felt someone's gaze. The instinct that once helped her avoid conflict now served her like a subtle radar. She slowly turned around and looked straight at the column behind which Oleg was hiding. Their gazes met. Oleg wanted to come out of the shadows, wanted to scream, spit in her face, demand justice, tell her how she abandoned him, how he was suffering. His lips trembled and he took a step forward, but under her gaze he shrank. There was no fear, no gloating, or even pity in her eyes. There was indifference, complete, absolute indifference. She looked at him as if he were an empty wall, like last year's snow, which had long since melted and turned into mud underfoot, like something that once was, but now has no meaning. She didn't recognize him, or pretended not to recognize him. Oleg himself was not sure. Maybe he had changed so much that his appearance no longer evoked any emotion in her other than detachment. Elena held her gaze for a moment, then turned away, got into the car, and the door slammed. The black sedan moved smoothly and disappeared into the stream of lights of evening Moscow, taking with it her new life, her success, her happiness. Oleg was left standing in the dirty snow, like a statue made of ice. The wind ruffled his greasy hair, the cold penetrated to his bones, his fists dropped limply. For the first time he realized that there was no return, that with his own hands, with one drunken act, he had destroyed his ticket to a happy life. He valued the queen at 1,000 rubles and received change, loneliness, poverty, and oblivion. His life became as dirty and cheap as his words at that corporate party. A year has passed. Elena was sitting in a cafe on the piazza in Rome. The warm spring wind played with the napkins on the table. The sun gently warmed her face, and she squinted with pleasure. Behind her, the gentle splash of the Fantano Bernini could be heard, and around her there was the sound of polyphonic Italian speech, which she already understood quite well. A new ring sparkled on her finger, not a wedding gift, but given with great meaning. It was a thin dam band with a small diamond, symbolizing frequency and strength. Victor gave it to her on the anniversary of their first acquaintance, or rather, on the anniversary of her dismissal. A symbol of your freedom and our faith in each other. He said then. Victor approached the table with 2 servings of gelate, pistachio for the best financial director in Europe. He smiled as he sat down next to him. Elena laughed. Her laugh was light and easy. You flatter me, Victor, she said, but I like it. Over this year, they became not just business partners, they became very close people. Victor did not rush things. He courted her beautifully and respectfully, giving her time to heal old wounds and find herself. And the wounds really healed. Elena felt strong, self-sufficient, and confident. She knew her worth, and this price was not measured in money, although her new status and income allowed her to live a life that she could not even dream of in her marriage to Oleg. Her value was in her intelligence, her determination, her integrity, her ability to love and be loved. Over the past year, Elena not only brought the holding's financial performance to a new level, but also headed several large international projects, significantly expanding the company's influence on world markets. She received recognition in the professional community. Her name appeared in prestigious business publications. By the way, Victor became more serious and slightly leaned towards news has arrived from Moscow regarding Smirnov. Elena stopped smiling, but did not feel alarm, just a shadow of the past that could no longer hurt her. She only frowned slightly. What's wrong with him? Caught stealing construction materials at a site. Tried to sell the cable on the black market. Relapse plus an outstanding criminal record and huge debts. He was given a real sentence. 3 years in prison. Elena paused, looking at the Fontaine Bernine. The water sparkled in the sun, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow. The world around her was full of colors and life. I don't feel sorry for him, she said honestly, without a shadow of gloating, but also without a shadow of pity. Everyone chooses their own path. He made his choice at that corporate party, when he decided that I was a commodity. And I chose the cheapest lot. You're right. Victor nodded. Let's close this topic forever. Elena agreed. Forever, and a smile appeared on her face again. Victor took her hand in his. His palm was warm and secure, his touch gentle and respectful. Where shall we go in the evening? To the opera? Or just to walk along the embankment? Elena answered, to go for a walk. I want to breathe. I haven't breathed deeply for so long, Victor. They stood up and walked along the ancient paving stones of the eternal city. 2 Mature, accomplished people who found each other among the rubble of past mistakes and disappointments. Their path was not easy, but they both learned lessons. Elena learned to value herself and not tolerate humiliation. Victor, see the true value of people behind masks and ambitions. Their relationship was built on a foundation of trust, respect and deep understanding. And somewhere far away in a grey and cold cell in a pre-trial detention center, the former sales king Oleg Smirnov looked at the barred window from which only a piece of the dirty winter sky could be seen, and tried to remember the moment when his life took a wrong turn. But his memory mercifully gave him only one frame: a golden ring falling into a glass of cognac, and a quiet, but deadly voice echoing in his empty head. Sold.it was the most expensive deal of his life, and he lost everything in it.